Welcome to RGR students. This is RGR Academy. We move on to the group discussion, that is the question paper discussion for the group wise paper on this particular unit, the human physiology. I hope we are done with all the individual chapters of human physiology. This is a consolidated part where we discuss together with the complete unit of human physiology. Let us discuss with these questions. Question 91. Which valve is present between the right auricle and the right ventricle? This is a very common question. When you draw the structure of the human heart, so when you, for example, if you make the structure like this, so representation. So if it is a right hand side, that you make it as a left auricle, and this is a left ventricle, and this one is right auricle, and this is the right ventricle. So the question comes like a valve is present between the right auricle, and this is the question towards your left. Right. So, what is a valve which connects the right and the this thing? So, here you could see 3 cuspid valves here, right, and here you could see 2 cuspid, right. This 3 tricuspid valves called as tricuspid valves. So, this we call it as a tricuspid valve, okay, but this is called as a bicuspid valve. We have 2 here, so this we call it as a bicuspid valve. So, this is an atrioventricular septum that you could see, atrioventricular septum that you could see in between. It's fine. So, this is called as tricuspid valve. So, option 1 is the correct answer. This valve reopens and to allow the blood to flow from the atrium to the ventricles, and this forcing the blood, actually this, when the right ventricles contracts, is forcing the blood which goes to what? Which goes to the pulmonary artery. So, pulmonary artery, then the tricuspid valves closure the aperture of the atrium, thereby preventing any backflow of the blood which comes right from the pulmonary artery to the back space. So, for this question, option 1 is the correct answer, tricuspid valve. Question 92. Coming to 92, the cardiac cycle. The cardiac cycle in normal subject is about like 0.8 seconds, because 0.85 seconds in which atrial systole counts, where you could see 0.4 and 0.3 that which takes place, because you need to calculate the 0.8 second. Question number 92, this comes 0.8 seconds, right. As we calculate the 0.8 second, this is for 0.4 seconds and 0.3 seconds. This 0.4 seconds, this we call it as a diastole, cardiac diastole, and 0.3 is for the cardiac systole, that is a ventricular systole we are talking about. Okay, this is a ventricular systole, So, together it comes like 4 plus 3, that is like 7, and thus 1.1, right. This we call it as an arterial systole, This is a ventricular diastole and ventricular systole. This is a ventricular diastole and ventricular systole. So, sometimes they ask a separate question. Diastole for ventricular diastole is 0.4, and ventricular systole is 0.3. Together, if you take like it's like 0.8 second is less than even 1 second, is lesser than a 1 second. This takes place. Okay, this for 92 question. Option 2 is the correct answer. In a normal healthy person at rest, the percentage of blood in the pulmonary circulation of the person is going for the rest is actually 7%, because 2 main parts of the blood circulations are systemic and the pulmonary circulation. Systemic circulation which takes the blood to the different parts of the body, all the organs of a body, whereas pulmonary circulation you take, it takes the lungs blood to the lungs, where you could see of this systemic circulation which contains 84% of the blood. When you talk this part, where like out of 7% we talk the justification, if you put 80% of blood which is for a systemic circulation of the remaining like 16 of the blood, about 7% is actually contained in the heart and about 9 in the pulmonary circulation. So, 9 in the pulmonary circulation, that is 9%, and the remaining the 7% is containing in this 7% is contained in the heart, of which 84% is actually of the systemic circulation. Okay. So, for this question, option 7 is 1 is the correct answer, 7%. Blood pressure is measured by sphygmomanometer. It's quite common thing with the stethoscope. We have the sphygmomanometer by which the blood pressure can be measured. Question number 95. Hypersecretion of the growth hormone is in adults. Hypersecretion of the growth, or GH, we call it as this by means of epiphyseal plates closed after the adolescence. This occurs in the epiphyseal plate. This is the hyaline cartilage. The epiphyseal plate is actually the hyaline cartilage plate. It usually occurs in the metaphysis, at which the end of a long bone. It is a part of a long bone where new bone start growing, and this takes like an acromegaly when there is no increase in height occurs because of the ossified epiphyseal plate. So for this, having in your mind, we go with the first option, epiphyseal plate close after the adolescence, because after that, like because it still keep continuing, then it goes to condition called as acromegaly. So option 1 is the correct answer. Next question 96, the function of the pineal body. Pineal body is considered, initially it was considered as the third eye of the human being, later part only they confirm the pineal as a gland. Coming to this part here, first, second, third options, all the three functions are like quite relevant to the pineal body. So option 4, all the above, regulates the period of puberty, controls the sexual behavior, and also lightens the skin color. So all the three, and also like sleep awake cycle, like that's the reason we call the pineal gland as the biological clock. So 96, the pineal gland can also be called as, pineal gland is also called as biological clock. Okay, so next question, which of the following hormones are produce anti-inflammatory reactions in man and suppress the immune response in addition to its primary function? It is cortisol. Cortisol, because it's a glucocorticoid hormone secreted by what? Adrenal cortex. So 97, cortisol, it's secreted by adrenal cortex. It's secreted by the adrenal cortex. And the primary functions, which was regulation, metabolism of what? Metabolism of mainly the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats. And this also acts like anti-inflammatory reactions, like So for this particular question 97, 2 is the correct answer. Hormones are chemical compounds which can be, we cannot say only it's a carbohydrate, steroid, or protein. It's a combination that you could see protein, steroid, and other diphenylhamines. So option 4 is the correct answer. Question number 99, functional unit of the kidney. If you go for a kidney, the functional unit is what? Nephron. You study the nephron. We have the millions of nephrons which present in each kidney. We have the two types of nephrons, juxtamedullary nephron and the cortical nephron. So nephrons are the functional unit of the kidney, where most of the filtration, the ultrafiltration, selective absorption, these all process which takes place. Next question number 100. In the descending limb of the loop of Henle, the maximum osmotic difference that can be created by the sodium potassium pump, this which gives, what is the difference that you could see? As far as 100 milliosmolarity. So here for question number 100, it is 100 milliosmolarity, osmolarity per liter. This is the correct answer for question number 100. So because the reason is like an ascending loop of Henle, it's virtually impermeable to water. This is the descending limb and this is the ascending limb. This is ascending and this one is a descending. This, the ascending part of this particular loop of Henle, it is impermeable to water. It is impermeable to water, and it is permeable to sodium. This is quite opposite with this case. So having this in our mind, since the ascending loop is impermeable to water, this has got 100 milliosmolarity, where the fluid is thick in ascending loop of Henle becomes very dilute, falling to the concentration of about 100 osmolarity per liter. So option 1 is the correct answer for this question. Question 101. The accumulation of urea in the blood due to the malfunction of the kidney is because the urea is accumulated, then the urea will get disseminated and get excreted through the urine. This condition is called as uremia. Uremia is the condition. Okay, it means it's a condition called as kidney failure. Then particular persons are expected to go for the hemodialysis procedure. Question 102. When a neuron is in the resting stage, not conducting any impulse, axonal membrane. What is the fate of the axonal membrane here? It is comparatively, fourth option, comparatively more permeable to potassium ions and nearly permeable to sodium ions. When you talk about this particular question 102, so what happens the permeable, it is more permeable to all, you could see the potassium ions here, the potassium ions that you could see here, and impermeable to sodium ions. It may be impermeable to all outsides that you could see, impermeable to the sodium ions, but inside you could see the potassium ions. This is what in the resting potential, where you could say. So option 4 is the correct answer. When it is an action potential, what will happen? There will be the diffusion takes place, the sodium comes inside, potassium which goes outside this by means of sodium and potassium gateways or a pump. Question 103. The receptors and the functions, we could see, find out the correct match. C, that is gustatoreceptors. Gustatoreceptors which present in your tongue, right? And these receptors with sour, sweet and different tastes that you can identify. The taste is actually important, the gustatoreceptors. Option 3 is the correct answer. Question number 104. The 104 question, so what does this question says? 104. The innermost layer of the human eye. So when you talk about the innermost layer, we have scleroid coat, choroid coat, and we have the innermost layer, we call it as the retina. We have the rods and cones cells. The inner layer is called as a retina, because the cavity contains rods and cones, that is light sensitive cells, and these are all associated with the nerve fibers. Retina is the correct answer. 4. Question number 105. The vibration of the tympanic membrane are amplified approximately how many times in the oval window? It is by means of 20 times. Question number 104. 104, it is 20 times it is getting vibrated. The reason is we have like an oval window, we call it as the fenestra ovalis. Oval window, which also called as fenestra. Fenestra ovalis, we otherwise call it as oval window. This present in the inner ear, it is attached to stapes. We have malleus, incus and stapes. We have 3 bones that we have, and this comprises ossicles, we call it as. And through the oval membrane, the intensity of the sound waves is increased about 20 times by the which one? By the ear follicles. How it is getting increased? By means of malleus, ear ossicles, malleus, incus and stapes. These ossicles are responsible for increasing the vibration to 20 times. So for this question 105, 2 is the correct answer. 106. Lungs are enclosed by, it's a pleural membrane. As the heart is concerned, is pericardium, the lung is pleural membrane. Question 107. After forceful inspiration, the amount of air that can be breathed out by the maximum forced expiration is equal to IRV plus TV plus ERV. So this together becomes 3400 to 3800 ml. This is the question number 107. So for this, option 3 is the correct answer, that is IRV. IRV plus we have TV plus ERV. Okay. So 107, 3 is the correct answer. 108. Besides RBC, blood plasma also carries oxygen in solution. What is the percentage? The percentage is only 2 to 3% only this called, because about 3% of oxygen is blood is dissolved in the plasma, which carries oxygen to our body cells. Question number 109. 109. After taking a long deep breath, we do not respire for some seconds. This is due to what? This is due to the less amount of carbon dioxide in the blood. This is the reason why actually we cannot breathe after a few seconds after the the deep breath, we cannot respire. So 3 is the correct answer for question 109. 110. When carbon dioxide concentration in blood increases, the breathing becomes, when CO2 concentration in blood increases, what will happen? Then you will become faster and deeper. You will become faster and deeper because CO2 concentration in blood increases, breathing becomes faster and deeper. The effect of raising CO2 concentration is due to decrease in affinity. The decreased affinity of hemoglobin with oxygen, then what will happen? The hemoglobin which binds is the hemoglobin have the affinity with oxygen, the hemoglobin which shows affinity with carbon dioxide, the hemoglobin can also show an affinity with the carbon monoxide. This we call it as carboxyhemoglobin, right? This is carbaminohemoglobin. So we have 3 types. These 2 things are temporary. These 2 are temporary because it can be reversed. But this one is permanent. Once the affinity which occurs between these 2, hemoglobin and carbon monoxide, this cannot be reversed. Okay. So for this question, 4 is the correct answer. Question 111. Match the column 1 and column 2. Select the correct options for the codes given below. Out of which you could see option 2 is the correct answer. Option 2 is the correct answer because type of movement, amoeboid movement, ciliary movement, flagellar movement, and we have the muscular movement. Sometimes the spermatozoa even which shows, because having the flagella, it shows the flagellar movement. Amoeboid movements, like mostly you could see the normal cells like amoeba, leukocytes, which shows the amoeboid movement. So choose the correct answer. Question 112. Read the given statement and select the correct option. Both the statements 1 and 2 are correct, because a primary microfilament is composed a bundle of rod-like proteins called myosin. That's a dark band. We call it as an A band. Myosin and actin together, which forms a contractile apparatus, because the contraction takes place between the I and the A band. That is a light and the dark band. So option 1 is the correct answer. Question number 113. The joint in which of one of the two bones is fixed in its place bearing a peg-like process over which the other bones of the bones rotate. This is actually, we call it as a pivot joint. We call it as a pivot joint because pivot joints allows the movement. What type of movement? Rotatory movement. Rotatory movement on one above the other, which remains. One has become the stationary, the other one starts rotating. A rounded end of the one bone fits the shallow pit of the another bone. That is, example, you take the joint between the atlas and axis. We call it as on the first vertebrae and second vertebrae. That is atlas and axis bone. Question number 113. The first and second vertebrae, we call it as an S bone. S bone is atlas, no bone is an axis bone. This is for cervical 1 and this is the cervical 2. This is responsible, the examples for the pivot joints. Okay. So 113, 3 is the correct answer. Question number 114. 114, the frequency of the heartbeat in our body is maintained. Conduction of the heartbeat, right, is a natural pacemaker. It is sinoatrial node, that is SA node. You know this answer. So option 2 is the correct answer. Question number 115. Which of the following animals has two separate circulatory pathways? Two separate circulatory pathways. Frogs, no. Shark, lizards, you would have studied in the animal kingdom, right? Whereas like question 115, where whale is the mammals of all the mammals, and in this two separate circulatory pathways are found. That is systemic circulation and the pulmonary circulation. We could see the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood by the left atria and the right atria respectively passed on to the left and the right ventricle. Thus, what happens? Oxygenated, deoxygenated bloods are not get mixed up. It will not get mixed up. This is referred to as a double circulation. As human beings, we have the classical example. So, for this question, option 1, the whale, is the correct answer. 116. Choose the correct matched pair. CAD, the coronary arterial diseases. The coronary arterial disease which leads to atherosclerosis. Option A is the correct answer. Question 117. Function of somatostatin. Somatostatin inhibits the release of the growth hormone from the pituitary. So, too much of the growth hormone cannot be produced, so that it can stop. These hormones reacts with the pituitary gland, therefore, the portal circulation system and regulate the functions of the anterior. It's not with the posterior, it's with the anterior pituitary. The posterior pituitary is under the direct control of hypothalamus. The pituitaries are hypophysis, which cannot do any functions of its own because it's directly under the control of hypothalamus. But this somatostatin, this occurs by means of the anterior pituitary. So option 4 is the correct answer. Excuse. Question 118. Hormone responsible for the secretion of milk after parturition. After parturition, which is the hormone? Prolactin. Prolactin is the hormone, because this prolactin can be also called as the lactogenic hormone. The lactogenic hormone, or which is also called as luteotrophic hormone. This synthesized in the anterior pituitary gland that stimulates the milk production. This occurs after the parturition. So option 2 is the correct answer. 119. Stimulation of RBC production is by which hormone? Which hormone? Cortisol hormone. So the cortisol is the main glucocorticoid secreted by the adrenal cortex, and this is responsible for gluconeogenesis. So gluconeogenesis and lipolysis and proteolysis, all these process takes place, and this maintains the cardiovascular and also the renal functions and anti-inflammatory responses and stimulates for the RBC production. So keeping this in your mind, we go with this particular option, cortisol. Question 120. Islets of Langerhans are found in, where you could see the islets of Langerhans? In the endocrine pancreas, because pancreas is both exocrine and endocrine. Islets that you could see in the endocrine pancreas. Option 4 is the correct answer for question number 120. Okay, because in this part endocrine only you could see the alpha cells, beta cells, and we have the delta cells, like these different types of cells that you could see that which performs endocrine function. So question number 121. The juxtaglomerular apparatus is a special region formed by closed placement and cellular modification, where between you could see in the afferent arteriole and the distal convoluted tubule. Afferent arteriole and the distal convoluted tubule, that you could see. For question number 121, this is actually the afferent arteriole. Okay, afferent arteriole, and this is the proximal convoluted tubule, endless loop will go, and this is your distal convoluted tubule. This is the distal convoluted tubule. This is an afferent arteriole. This is your afferent arteriole. In between you have the macula densa. Together these two parts, which we call it as a juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, this comprises of juxtaglomerular cells. We have the mesangial cells and we have macula densa. These two parts which comprises together and form this apparatus. You study the RAS mechanism, right? Renin-angiotensin mechanism also. This occurs by means of the juxtaglomerular apparatus. So with this question, the correct option is so this question, yeah, option 3 is the correct answer. Afferent arteriole, this is afferent arteriole, and between the distal convoluted tubule you could see. Question number 122, which one of the following statements in regard to the excretion by the human kidney is correct? That is, the nearly 99% of glomerular filtrate is reabsorbed by the renal tubules, only just the 1% only which is coming out, that is in the form of a urine. So option 3 is the correct answer for 122. Next we move on to the 123 question. Uremia is indicated when the blood urea, what is the concentration which goes above 0.05%? It should not go beyond that. If it goes beyond 0.05%, then it is uremia, where you could see the presence of urea in a blood. So for this, correct option is 1. 123, 1 is the correct answer, because the normal value of urea in blood is 0.01 to 0.03%. 0.01 to 0.03% is a normal. This for the question number 123. Question number 123, it's a normal urea. Normal urea. If it goes beyond this level, this condition, we call it as an uremia. Alright guys, so 123, 1 is the correct answer. Next question, 124. 124, the release of chemical messengers from the synaptic vesicles is under the influence of how? As you talk about the synapse from the axon to the dendrite, so to the synaptic cleft, this by the influence of calcium. This we discussed when we talk about the particular chapter itself. Calcium is very essential. So 124, option 3 is the correct answer. Question number 125. The reflex arc contained both the nerves. It contains both the sensory nerve as well as the motor nerve. That you would have studied the sensory reflex action. You would have studied both the nerves, where the sensory and the motor nerve. So 126, pigment iodopsin is contained where this, because there are two types of cells, rod cells and cone cells. Pigment iodopsin where it is present in the cone cells. So 126, option 2 is the correct, because cone cells are the light sensitive cells. It's not like that of the rhodopsin. So it's a light sensitive pigment which, according to the trichomatric theory, there's a theory called trichomatric theory. This start exists in the 3 forms, actually each form is occurring from the different cone cells, and this forms iodine is sensitive to the either red, blue or a green light. Okay, for this we go with the cone cells, option 2. Question number 127. Coming to 127, which part of the human ear plays a role in hearing as much of, but it otherwise very much required? This is vestibular apparatus. If you have studied in the ear part, there is apparatus called the vestibular apparatus, and this is the part of the inner ear, which is located which is having a close proximity with the cochlear region. It consists of 3 semicircular, you would have seen the structure, 3 semicircular canals you could see, which detects the movement of the head, and also like sacklers which detect the position of the head. It does not play any role in the hearing, but is responsible for maintaining the balance of your body, and the posture especially. Thus, how your posture is maintained, how we can walk properly, right? This is because of the apparatus called, but this doesn't have any main role to play in hearing mechanisms, but this is playing very important role in determining the posture of your body. So 127, question 3 is the correct answer. 128, the man and animals, you will see, if a man and animal, air passes from outside into the lungs, how it moves actually to the nasal cavity. Then if you see the flow, it goes from the pharynx, then to the larynx, then it goes to trachea, then it goes to the bronchioles. So from the bronchioles reach the alveoli. If you go in respiratory system, the diagram, you can answer this type of question. So we're done with 128, option is 4. Question number 129. A person's breathing normally at rest takes in and expels approximately half a liter of air, digest each respiratory cycle. So, this we call it as the volume, the total volume which is getting inhaled inside, this volume that we call it as a TV, that is tidal volume. I think we discussed already about the tidal volume, right. So, the total volume which comes, that is called tidal volume. So, for this question, option 2 is the correct answer. Question number 130. After the following, the partial pressure of oxygen. So, the partial pressure of oxygen is maximum when the partial pressure of oxygen, because it reach with the react with the atmospheric air. When we expel, when we start expiring only, the partial pressure of oxygen will be more. When you inspire, the partial pressure of oxygen, because you are taking the atmospheric air, so that time what will happen? The partial pressure is comparatively low, but when you expire, the partial pressure of oxygen is more. So, for this question, option 4 is the correct answer.